Hi guys, we are going to begin with Chapter 12, the Roman Empire. Lesson 1 video notes are from the Republic to an Empire. So after changing from a republic to an empire, Rome grew politically and economically and developed a culture that influenced later civilizations. Okay, I'm going to move myself on out of the way here. So what we want you to do is brainstorm 3 reasons why the Roman Republic was in a state of disorder in the 70s BC. This is where you want to pause the video, and even though you may not know why the Roman Republic was in a state of disorder, think about things that would cause the Republic to go into a state of disorder. So just brainstorm 3 ways, pause the video. Okay then. What could be some possibilities would be that the politicians and generals started to go to war. They were having that civil war between each other over who's going to have power. You could have also put politically inspired riots. This is where the people themselves would have been rising up and rebelling. And you're going to have more and more people coming into the city from the countryside, which is going to cause a food shortage. Remember, Rome had such a surplus of crops, but the more and more people that came to their countryside, the harder and harder it became for them to be able to supply food to them. So there was a food shortage. Okay, and here is a picture of the Roman Forum. You can see that nice wide open space, and in the Forum, it would have been likely for you to see a public speaker. So one of those public speakers, his name is Cicero, and he made the calls for change. Some of the Romans tried to stop the chaos in the government, such as Cicero. He was a gifted philosopher and orator, which means a public speaker. Okay, so Cicero's ideas, I think I need to move down here. Cicero's ideas were, he wanted to take power away from the generals. This is where we saw during the Republic in chapter 11, the generals were coming in and taking over. So people were becoming more loyal to their generals. If you remember Lucius, Sulla, and Gaius Marius, they were taking the power because the people were more loyal to them. So Cicero felt it was important to take that power away from the generals, and he wanted to give it back to the Senate, because when you give it back to the Senate, we are going to see checks and balances being restored, which means your government power is starting to be balanced again. No one is becoming more powerful than the other branch. You are getting that power and balancing of it restored. And then there was he wanted better cooperation within the government branches for them to work better, more cohesively, to get along for the good of the Republic. So this last one here, the better cooperation, is not in your video notes, and we would like you to go ahead and write that one in. It disappeared. There it is. We want you to write that in so that you have that full picture of what Cicero was trying to accomplish. Okay, so then we have, let's see, it's a good place to put me over here. Then we have Caesar's, I don't think that's going to work either. Let me come down here. I'll be right under Caesar, okay? So then we have Caesar's rise to power. So the reasons that Caesar became powerful. Caesar was a general, and he had a very good army following. So Caesar has a rise to power. I think you could probably see where this is leading. He's a general that has a big following. So we're going to see what he becomes. He becomes powerful. He's a powerful general between 58 and 50 BC. He conquered all of Gaul, which is modern day France. He was admired for his bravery and skill. He was a very talented, powerful general. So he was also an excellent speaker. He gained popularity with his speeches in the Forum. So that picture of the Forum, not only would we have seen Cicero, but we also would have seen Julius Caesar. He had many powerful friends. Pompey and Crassus, with whom he ruled Rome. Pompey and Crassus were in the Senate. And so you have a general who has a good army following, who has the popularity from the people because he's a gifted speaker. And he also has some friends that are in Senate with whom he ruled. Okay, so now you have a hot question. What role did the military play in Caesar's rise to power? So for this question, you want to think about what I just covered with Caesar being a powerful general and him having that popularity among the people because of his speaking abilities, and then the powerful friends that he has. I want you to jot down a couple things, but then I want you to stop, and then I want you to listen to what Miss Hodges tells you about, because she's going to go more into the military aspect of it, and then I want you to come back and finish answering this question, and then we will go over a couple of things in our class conferencing about this. So give it your best shot and then listen to what Miss Hodges says, and we will go from there. Okay, that's all for me. Now we're going to have Miss Hodges come in. Bye, guys.
All right, fun stuff, right? Okay, let's keep going. Or maybe, there we go. All right, so in all those difficulties and everything that's going on, and the Republic having all those challenges, then that allowed some people to step forward and start to take some control of this government and to exert their power. And one of those people that did that, you've just learned a little bit about him, was Julius Caesar. So let's see how that happened, when he had the power, what happened. So his partnership, he kind of forms an oligarchy with these three guys. The branches of government are still there, but three guys are really in control of stuff. And his partnership with Pompey is going to last about 10 years. This was after he had conquered Gaul, so he was so popular that even his friends started to become jealous. They were upset that he had the military followed him so loyally, and they were just with him all the time, and so he was able to just basically do whatever he wanted to there. And in 50 BC, Pompey's allies in the Senate wanted Caesar to give up his command of his armies. They felt the army was too strong and too loyal to him and not loyal to the Republic, and they wanted him to let that control go. Just like Cicero said, he wanted the generals to have less power, and so they asked him to do that, and they wanted Pompey to rule. But Caesar said, "No, I'm not giving up my army. I'm not going to let go of this power that I have. My army is my army, and they are loyal to me, and we will do what we want." And so he did not follow what the Senate asked him to do. So he was fighting in Gaul, which is modern day France. And let's see, maybe I can put me there. So he's in Gaul, and in Gaul there's a river that's on his way back from that kind of borders the northern part of Italy. They're called the Rubicon. It's a river that once formed the border of Rome's Italian territory. And the senators were afraid that the generals were gaining too much power. That's what Pompey said. Pompey was like, what Pompey wanted him to give up his powers, and so did the Senate. They said he has too much power. And so they told Caesar, they said, you know what? We want you to give up that power, and we want you to come home. But Caesar didn't do that. He crossed that river and came home, and he declared war by doing that. He stayed and continued to fight for a little while, but then when they told him to come home, he was like, "No, I'm not really coming home." But then he did decide to go back home, and when he crossed that river and came back home, he basically said, "I am going to war with you." and he went to war with Rome, and he crossed the river, went down to Rome with the intent of taking over the government, and that's exactly what he tried to do. By crossing the Rubicon with that army, Caesar made a decision that he could not change. Once he decided to go against the Senate, there was no going back. And in life, there are many times that you make a decision that you just can't change it. I mean, you've made a decision, you've acted upon that decision, and the consequences are such that it cannot be reversed. It cannot go backwards. Some decisions we make are fine, and it's okay if you make a mistake and it can be changed and it can be fixed. But sometimes that's not the case. So listen to your parents when you have a serious decision to make, because they have the wisdom and they know where you're going. They know what's best. They can at least give you a good perspective. So you need to listen to those people in your life that you love and care about, because once you make a decision that can't be changed, like crossing the Rubicon River to just declare war on Rome, there's no going back. So and in today, to our world, we say, oh, that's a Rubicon decision. Like where you're going to go to college. Once you make a decision, there you are. Yeah, you can change it, but it's going to be really hard. But for the time being, you've made a decision. There's no going back. You got to go finish that semester or whatever. So those are some decisions. There are some more serious ones, but that's one that you want to make. So here's your hot question then. What is the significance of Julius Caesar crossing that Rubicon River? And we added some more information about why the army was so loyal. So go back and fix that question if you need to. And what does it mean by crossing the Rubicon? What does that decision mean? And then I want you to give me an example of a situation that might apply to in your life. Or if you can't think of one in your life, just think of a situation for anybody that this might apply. So it can be a personal decision if you want, or it can just be something that you think would be a Rubicon decision in somebody's life. All right, so you can't go back. Once that decision's made, you can't go back. All right, so you've got your hot question answered. Now, challenges to Caesar. So Caesar had a lot of challenges, and a lot of people were not happy with the decisions he was making, his actions. So when he returned to Rome, he defeated Pompey. That was in 45 BC, and he declared himself to be emperor for life. Okay, so just because you declare yourself to be an emperor doesn't necessarily mean that that's what's going to happen. And he went in and he did take over for a little bit, and he did do that. And lots of people were concerned about the way that he went in and seized power. He definitely limited the Senate's power, and that's not what the Republic was about. And that was a change in government, but it wasn't a permanent change. So the effects of what happened, so his actions were he comes into the city, then people were concerned about that. They did not like the way that he seized power. They felt that he had illegally done so, and so the Senate did something about it. So here's one of those flow charts that talks about cause and effect. You definitely would see something like this on a test, where you're going to see an effect, a cause, something happens, and then what? And then what? So here's the final and then what from his actions. On March 15th, a date known as the Ides of March in 44 BC, just a year after he comes back in there, a group of senators attack Caesar on the Senate floor, and they stab him and they kill him. He's assassinated. When this happens, the government did not change. It stays a republic. So even though he tried to change the government, it did not happen. This is not the beginning of an empire. A lot of people think that this is, but it's not, because the change has not been made because the Senate did something about it and took that power back. So on the 15th of March, which just, was a couple of weeks ago, a group of senators attacked Caesar on the Senate floor, and they stabbed him and they killed him there. So that's our effects of this challenge that Caesar brought to Rome. And that is the end of our video notes, guys. So go back, answer your hot questions thoroughly. Make sure that you have included information and answered in complete sentences, answered in enough complete sentences. Is especially important since we're not going to be in class writing as much, that when you are given the opportunity to write and you're given the assignment to write, that you write consistently and you do it well. This is going to tap into your character. This is going to tap into who you are. Are you going to do it right even when nobody's watching? Are you going to do the right thing? We're going to talk about this in our conferencing that we'll have. We'll let you know the dates and times of that exact conferencing. So I'm going to be posting some things on Schoology. I'm going to post some discussion questions. I'm going to post the conference where we actually can talk and we'll be able to see each other, which I'm looking forward to that. That'll be a lot of fun. But make sure that you're doing your part. I look forward to seeing you again, and hopefully we'll be back in class soon. Miss you guys. Hope you're doing well. Bye.